everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Startuprad.io, your podcast show with startup news and interviews from Germany.
Hello and welcome everybody, folks. This is once again Jörn from Startuprad.io. You are listening to the startup news. What was important, what was going on in the German startup scene, the wrap up for October. And as you know it, I don't do it alone. Christian is once again here. Hey Christian, how's New York doing?
Awesome, obviously, as always. Autumn is not coming, hasn't come yet. It's still very warm, and looking forward to our show today.
The weather here in Germany, we may add, it's recorded on the 26th of October 2017. So everything that happened till now is included. Everything that will happen in the last few days of October will be included in our new news. And actually, I gotta admit, the fall is in Germany. We already had some storms here. We had a little bit cool weather here, but it wasn't very stable. It was always going up and down, up and down, up and down. Almost the same as startups, right? Just tell you a little bit about the housekeeping. Once again, we have published a lot of videos since our last news podcast. They're more on the shelf and we'll keep posting at least till the end of the year. Check out youtube.com/c/startupradio. Since the last news, we posted a few quickfire interviews as well as the interview with Palvi. Palvi is pretty cool. It's the flying car from the Netherlands. And we've conducted this interview live at the Frankfurt Motor Show. There's also another one upcoming with the founder of Pump. Pump is a mobility startup from Paris, which actually provides... Well, I shouldn't tell too much up front. Actually, you should have a look at it. And we also have been to the Frankfurt Book Fair here in lovely Frankfurt, where the German Association of Book Printers and Publishers, in German, just for you to enjoy it, der Börsenverein des deutschen Buchhandels, presented the startups of their accelerator program called Content Shift. We have been talking about it in the past. It's one of the accelerators located here in Frankfurt. Stay tuned for the interviews we conducted after the ceremony, and of course youtube.com/c/startupradio. I'm a little bit behind the curve. There's a backlog on editing, but I deeply promise I'll catch up till Christmas. And there was a normal podcast audio only interview with Raising, the Berlin-based deposit marketplace. Raisin was founded by Tamas. Tamas is a Georgian national, and he used to be a McKinsey partner. And during the financial crisis, he saw that they had to change something, so he jumped ship to actually set up a startup. It's a very interesting story, and of course, you can listen to it exclusively on our podcast. Whew. That was my take. Christian, what did you find?
There you go. Lots of numbers I found because we have the current issue, or the most current issue, of the German Startup Monitor, which provides insights into the Germany startup scene. Deutsche Welle TV also had a little piece about it, the German broadcaster abroad. The Deutsche Startup Monitor found 1,837 startups in Germany with more than 4,000 founders, and the number of female founders increased, but is still lingering around a not so impressive 14.6%. So basically 1 in 7 founders in a German startup is a woman for now. Most important university is the Technical University in Munich, TU München. And half of the startups in Germany feel as if they belong to a regional cluster who benefit from know-how transfer there, from cooperations and increased visibility. So that's probably interesting for listeners abroad, that German regions really make an effort to cluster certain industries around their cities. So, for example, in the Stuttgart region, we would have more startups working for car manufacturers. So because there is Daimler and Mercedes and Porsche, and BMW is not far away in Munich, which is only like a 2-hour drive. And so we have all these.
If you don't have a traffic jam.
True. Yeah, a very optimistic.
Yeah, there are lots of jams.
Afternoon, that's true. Yeah, and so it's a bit different compared to, for example, the US or maybe Israel, where it's all around, I don't know, the Tel Aviv region, or in the US it's all Silicon Valley and maybe New York. That in Germany there's many more regional clusters. It's a very optimistic business scene. 9 out of 10 founders consider their situation is improving. 1/3 of the startups employ other citizens or citizens from other countries in the European Union. So since we have the freedom to move and work wherever you want in the European Union, this is something that seems to work quite well. And we read that a lot, that especially after the financial crisis, a lot of younger people coming from southern European countries like Spain, Greece, Italy also moved to Germany. And you see that in a lot of German startups that oftentimes even English is the language of choice, not even German. On average, the startups in the Deutsche Startup Monitor have 13.2 employees. They plan to grow by around 7 to 8 more in the upcoming 12 months, I guess that is. And then what's very important for us, for our regional pride, since we both come from the state of Hesse in the middle of Germany, around 8% of the founders relocate to Hesse with their company. Then they came up with the different industries where the startups have their business in, or where the startups operate in. Biggest one is software with around 20%, followed by software as a service with 12%. And fintechs, which we talk about a lot here, only surprisingly make up for around 4.6% of the startups. Of course, we have the monitor in our show notes, but these are some numbers about the German startup ecosystem in general. And another ecosystem news is that European banks will have to share data with their rivals, including fintechs, writes Bloomberg. And it's due to PSD2, the European Union's second payment service direct. So it's a little legal lingo stuff, but you can find further information also in our show notes, which leads us to the hubs and Frankfurt.
Especially Frankfurt, yes. We have been once again ahead of the curve. You may remember in December 2016, we published our interviews with twins. Now it happens that Deutsche Bank bought a 25% stake for approximately 1 million euro exactly in this Frankfurt-based fintech. It's actually a workplace since it was founded actually by twins. And I always had the problem to understand, guys, who of you was now talking? So very nice guys. I met them in person as well. They are located at the Deutsche Börse Fintech Hub there. And of course, you can learn more about them in our interview. And if you click on the link, you will have the German news article by Gründerszene. We also talk IPO because, as I said, it's the 26th. This is important because on November 2nd, HelloFresh aims for a 1.8 billion US dollar IPO valuation in their Frankfurt IPO. And as said, the first date of trading will be November 2nd, which is important since Germany is basically shut down till the 31st, since there's 500 years ago, Martin Luther published his 95 Thesis. And there we have a special holiday just once every 500 years, I assume. So 31st, Germany is completely shut down. And on November 1st, some of the states have public holidays. So November 2nd is the first general working day here in Germany again. Stuttgart.
Yes.
You talk.
So Amazon will come to Stuttgart or come to Germany and open an AI center there in the so-called Cyber Valley, which is close to Stuttgart. Very area which is already very strong on industry because the world's largest automotive and machine building cluster is already there, and a lot of household names are coming from that area, like Bosch, Daimler, Porsche, and now
which which are actually Schwaben family names.
Swabians.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Swabians have a strong reputation in Germany. Yeah, because for example, they also have a very strict sweeping regime. If you live in Schwaben, you have to sweep the pavement in front of your building on a Saturday afternoon. Otherwise, your neighbors will get pissed and think you're not a good enough neighbor. We can talk about that some other time. But during my 14 years I lived in Stuttgart, I really suffered under the very strict Swabian sweeping regime. It's crazy.
I had in mind when he came up with this sweeping regime that there's a tradition. I don't know if it's actually in Schwaben, in Swabia. When you are 30 and you're not married, on a Saturday morning, you have to clean the stairs in front of the church.
Yes.
So that everybody knows you're still available and they can grab you.
Yeah. It's a very old custom, and you still do it in like small cities. It's not as if in a place like Berlin there's thousands of 30-year-olds sweeping the churches. But yeah, I do remember that from like when I was younger, that a lot of people still had to do it, and sometimes it's the churches, sometimes it's the municipality buildings. But yeah, terrible custom.
Depends who has the larger stairs, right?
Yeah. Oh God. Well, anyway, let's move on to companies. And there's also a little nice oddity because it has to do with the city I'm living in, New York. So there used to be a German politician. His name is Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg. So he's of royal descent, you can say. And his was a curious case because he rose to power or to fame, let's say, very fast. A couple of years ago, he became the German Secretary for Business, then the German Secretary for Defense. And not a lot of people, I think, would say that he necessarily had a good track record there. But then he had to step down because of huge scandal related to his PhD thesis, because it basically turned out that he copy and pasted like 2/3 of it. And on like nearly every page, there were parts where he had just copy pasted it. And by the way, it was 3 months before I finished my PhD thesis, and so thanks again for that, for like making me feel as if I spent 3 years of my life for nothing. So his name, Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg, he then somehow got out of the public eye or left the spotlight and claimed that he had found a consulting company in New York called Spitzberg and Partners, I think, and the German website Gründerszene.
I do believe it's a VC company.
Oh, it's a VC company. Okay, well, there you go.
That's why it's in our news.
Okay, sorry. A couple of media outlets tried to track it down, and turns out it's not really sure whether it's more than just an address in some random office building in New York. So they say they are not able to accommodate visitors, for example, for interviews. Yeah, it's really interesting because there were some rumors that probably now after the election he might end up as a secretary again. He comes from the Bavarian part of of Merkel's party, so it's a bit like the Tea Party wing of Merkel's party, and he's really still considered to be one of the rising stars because he has such a charming presence and is good on rhetoric. But yeah, it's not really sure. So yeah, it was just a nice little juicy side note story in terms of the German VC scene, which can be a bit more glamorous than people might think. And Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg, KTG as we call him, proves it.
Uh-huh. Speaking about Schwaben, there are some big competitors of Tesla as well. Bloomberg Quint wrote that Daimler steals Tesla's thunder with heavy-duty electric truck, which means just a few weeks ahead of the scheduled date of the public presentation of the Tesla truck, electronic truck, battery-powered heavy-duty truck on the Tokyo Motor Show, I do believe. Well, Bloomberg just write weeks, so it wasn't too long that they actually beat them. But you see, there's a increasing rivalry between Tesla and other car builders. And right now it doesn't look like Tesla is too much ahead of all the others.
Yeah. Also related to that, I saw a statistic, I think it came out in June or July, regarding patents on self-driving cars. And surprisingly, there's a lot of German companies on top of it. And it's some kind of like a hidden champion thing. And the German industry seems to be a bit more muscular than people would actually think about them. A nice little.
They are rather bad in the public relations department.
Yeah,
They're
probably.
not really bad in the inventions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's always this German idea of rather getting things done than bragging about it, I guess. So yeah, but
Talking about
bragging,
startups.
yeah, we have a nice little nice little exit. It's about a math learning app called Math42, which just got acquired for 20 million euros. So cheers to that.
And then we have open source company called OpenXChange with a big X, of course, and they raised 21 million euros for further expansion of the company. And then we have exclusive news by the outlet Gründerszene, who actually doesn't do a podcast. Awesome. We gotta admit, Christian is also writing for them because he basically covers the news and then gives a wrap up in the morning. Nonetheless, exclusively Gründerszene reported that Deloitte bought Berlin-based company builder called Makers.
Yes, and we got some numbers from SpotCap, which ever since they started already collected 100 million euro, and it's a credit platform offering credit to small and medium-sized companies. So it's not as like a very impressive number, but it's 100 million euro in since 2014. Yeah, so they are going places. It's always tough, I guess, in the finance industry. So, and Rocket Internet.
That's really, really true. Always tough in the financial industry. Right, there's our traditional Rocket Internet corner. It appears that they either get less coverage or that other startups also get in the news a lot. I'm not sure which one of both it is, but the Rocket Internet-backed Global Savings Group secured 19.2 million to grow beyond couponing. So basically, it sounds like they are, what was the name of the company everybody used to have their coupons? What was it called? Groupon. Yeah, totally. I haven't seen anything from them as it feels for quite some time, but actually, did you use them recently?
I don't want to admit it, but I do. Well, they always have this good restaurant offers, like where you pay $20 for a $40 credit at a restaurant, and I mean, I'm like to try new restaurants, and then sometimes it's just fun.
Awesome.
I'm sorry.
Then
I'm a cheap shot in that.
I'm very confident if you're freelance journalist in New York, you have to cut corners from time to time. I don't think it just spending there 2 or 3 weeks in a row always makes me almost bankrupt. So it's really not cheap. And competition and events. This time we have the upcoming Eurofinance Tech 2017 on November 16th. Keep in mind that this is an event we'll be present live and direct from our startup couch. We don't have a definite schedule, but basically we will be there in the middle and doing some live interviews, streaming in the internet on our YouTube channel again, and of course called Merck. They are doing an own accelerator program. It's called Merck Accelerator, and we are also partners there and help to search for startups, and they are looking for a new batch of startups. Application deadline is November 13th, and they're looking for very exotic areas like performance materials, healthcare, life science, sensors, and all really, really fancy stuff. So if you have something to do, if you're a startup and have something to do with biology, medicine, or something that just loosely relates to it, you should check out the website. And of course, you will find the show notes here, www.startuprad.io. Also, if you listen to this on Facebook or YouTube, www.startuprad.io, and you can find our show notes.
Which already brings us to our section Stay Ahead of the Curve, with nice little resources that help you get ahead in the startup scene or in the startup business. We have 3 little articles there this time around. One is from Deutsche Startups.de, and it's a list of 56 deals, investment deals that were made in the past couple of months. More than 200 million euro in VC money flew into them. So you can see that list and a link to that list in our show notes. Then we have a little analysis about AI and the fact that AI might put 10 million jobs at high risk, more than were eliminated by the Great Recession. There's an article about that at cbinsights.com. And we have an article about how unicorns are moving abroad and out of the US, and how more and more unicorns are built outside of the United States, which might be related to Trump. You never know. But I think in these days, you're always on the right side of history if you blame bad things on Trump. And so the creation of billion-dollar startups is shifting out of the US, and it's also from CB Insight, a research brief there.
That's it. That's all, folks. Yeah,
that's it.
Fortunately, we didn't record the first time when we've been chatting. We had a lot of laughters and a lot of interesting stuff to exchange. But nonetheless, stay tuned. We will have at least the November wrap up and the December news wrap up, and then you can hear from us again in January. And keep in mind, I'll still editing all the videos, all the audio interviews I still have on the shelf, so that means stay tuned for a lot of cool content coming up.
Yes, you better should.
Bye bye, guys.
So bye bye from New York. See ya.